Sir James Dyson doesn't accept how things are. He never has. He's an inventor, an engineer, and someone who has devoted his life to solving problems through new ways of thinking.
But you can't go around designing things that you think other people might like. You've got to make your own mistakes.
What followed was a multi-billion-dollar global enterprise.
Creative people are told they can't run companies. When I was trying to raise money, which I failed, significantly failed at, they said, we're not getting you because you're an engineer. Yet, I mean, the entire Politburo in China are engineers or scientists. And they understand the importance of manufacturing and creating products.
And as he once put it, his real advantage wasn't genius. It was being willing to fail longer than anyone else.
You've got to take risks. You've got to come out with new things that people don't trust or don't like.
That's Sir James Dyson. Welcome to the Business of Creativity series, brought to you by Amazon Ads. James, what a pleasure. I mean, it is, first of all, fantastic to be here. I tell you what's interesting is when you know somebody, not that I knew that well, but we've met a number of times and we sat on committees and boards, but when you see somebody in their environment, it always tells you a lot more about them. And I have to say, success of Dyson is phenomenal. But that's the thing that I wanted to talk about, because this is about trying to inspire young entrepreneurs, trying to get them to understand their business. And I think in a way, for me, you're almost the perfect example of, a brilliant bit of invention, brilliant engineering, and then great design. And putting all of those together to create something that is truly, you've changed the way people feel or think about all kinds of implements. But I think those three things, I call them my holy trinity, always making these religious observations, make it so kind of powerful. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with going right back to your childhood, how you developed, how you got into here. Now, I know, very sadly, your father died at the age of 9. And I'm not saying this, but a lot of people you interview who are hugely successful, they've had some moment in their life when something's happened and it makes them think hard about life, even if it's someone who's finds they're dyslexic or has something. And was that moment in your life was obviously very, very hard, and it stays with you, doesn't it?
It stays with you. I mean, cog psychology would say that I suppose I had nothing to lose from that point onwards. So I'm able to take risks in life and live on the knife edge, because nothing could be worse than losing your father at the age of 9.
That must have been absolutely traumatic.
Yeah, well, at 9, I think it's slightly less traumatic. I think you feel it over the years rather than immediately. I think if I'd been older, and my sister was 15, I think it hit her much harder than it hit me.
But that moment kind of, and that's a lovely thing to observe. If that's happened to you, then, a business closing down, so what?
Yes, exactly. And I also think it makes you very independent, self-reliant.
Yeah.
Because, no one gave me advice. Well, if they did, I didn't listen to it. But, there wasn't someone anxious. There wasn't someone anxious to give me advice to see me through. My mother was a great mother and managed, to be both parents. But nevertheless, I didn't have a father. It also made me feel very different, because there weren't that many divorces then. So everybody else at school had a father and a mother. And even if they were divorced, they came together and behaved together. So I felt very different. And I think that was sort of slightly isolating, but also a good thing, because, again, it made me sort of feel different. And feeling different made me want to be different and do different things, not what everybody else was doing.
I love that thing also of being slightly an outsider. I think, if you look at so many great people, I'm absolutely fascinated with Leonardo da Vinci. I think the man was just a genius, obviously a genius. People really know that. But when you look at him, he was a complete outsider. He was illegitimate, he was homosexual, he was left-handed. But
he's got a lot to live up to.
He's got, what else can I have? But I mean, that sense of, but he was an outsider. And I think it helps you observe. It helps you stand outside and look in.
Yes.
Much more so than somebody who is surrounded. So there you are. And then, I have to mention this is absolutely genius. At the age of 9, you get a prize in the Eagle comic. For those, there are many people who will remember this, but people of a certain age will remember the Eagle comic as this brilliant.
It was a wonderful comic.
Wonderful. It was. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. And a painting by yours, Blakeney Point, got a prize along with 4 other people. And you've still got the painting.
Still got the painting, haven't got the prize, which was radio. But, I mean, interestingly, Gerald Scarfe and David Hockney both won Eagle competitions.
Did they?
Yes. And all 3 of us went to the Royal College of Art. So there is a sort of connection there. But that happened 3 months after my father died.
Oh.
So, well, no, it gave me confidence.
Gave you confidence,
yeah. I think this is a national competition.
Through creativity. Isn't that brilliant?
I don't even remember entering it, funnily enough.
So you go essentially to art school, and then obviously on to the Royal College of Art.
And I was the first person from my school, public school, to go to an art school. So I didn't go to it as a career.
No.
Instead of doing voluntary service overseas for a year, I decided to go to art school in London. It's not a very voluntary thing, but to see what it was like, to see whether it was for me. So I didn't go there intending to do a full degree course or anything. I just went there for fun.
So, but wonderful fun.
Well, yes, it does.
But I think what's lovely about it, and I went to art school, I went to Hornsey, and the thing that I loved about it, and I sensed it the instant I went in, that here were people who were just interested in doing interesting things. They didn't care where you came from, they cared where you were going. And I found that a really exciting atmosphere. I found it a kind of culture that was really exciting to be in. And it opened you up. And I think that's the genius about art school. But then, from there, you leave the Royal College of Art, you become an engineer. I mean, that's a kind of an interesting...
Yes, that happened because I was doing architecture at the Royal College, and our structural engineers lecturer was Tony Hunt, who did all the work for Foster and Rogers. Yes. And there's this thing called engineering, and I thought when I went to the first lecture, I thought it's going to be really boring, and I was just riveted. He actually showed us how and why structures stay up, and actually how calculating that is very easy. And suddenly engineering became very interesting, and he introduced me to Buckminster Fuller. I don't know if you know.
Yes, Buckminster Fuller.
No one sees him. And and he was revolutionising architecture. Instead of architecture being concrete or brick buildings, he was making these very light, low use of materials, aluminium structures, enormous roof spans. And it's just, they're very beautiful. It made engineering beautiful, as well as being very ecological. So there were several of us at the Royal College, including Anton First. They were sort of devotees of Buckminster Fuller. It was the right time. And so I really got into engineering, and I did a Buckminster Fuller type structure, except mine was a sort of shape of a mushroom, for Joan Littlewood, the impresario, for a theatre in Stratford. And I went to see the only other person who'd ever built a building in Britain out of this aluminium structure was Jeremy Fry for a company called Rotalk in Bath. So I went down to him to ask for money to build this theatre, because I was told he was a millionaire. And he said, I'm not giving you any money, but I think you're quite a good designer, so will you design a boat for me, a high-speed landing craft, which I did in my final 2 years at college, and then went on to run the business. But it's there outside.
It's outside.
That's one of the boats, and that one's 45 years old.
But that light bulb moment, though, isn't it? And you often hear and people talk about the light bulb moment. What was it that spurred you on? And, one's lucky if you get that, because people don't. And I think, again, I would go back to art schools and that had this openness. They would get all kinds of people in talking about all kinds of things. Gives you a chance to sort of then experience. That's the path for me, and also the kind of people who are teaching you.
And it was lucky timing for me. I mean, it's the swing 60s, 1965 in London. There was Concorde. There was all the Citroën, amazing Citroën cars.
Citroën was a phenomenal
There was the Mini.
Yeah.
And then there was fashion. Yeah. And painting. Everything was completely different. It's a real renaissance. So I was very lucky in the timing. And although we had no reason to be confident, somehow we were all very confident about what we did, with no particular reason to be. I suppose it's throwing off the shackles of the post-war years in Britain, which were pretty grim, and there was nothing to lose. I mean, I had nothing to lose. I'd lost my father, so becoming an entrepreneur and pursuing, and it was this strange thing. I'd grown up in the hothouse of design at the Royal College of Art, but I slightly rebelled against it. I think I discovered engineering, and everybody else was going off to be a designer. But I thought, I don't want someone telling me what to design. I want to do the technology as well as the design. Oh, and actually, I want to make it as well. And actually, I want to sell it as well. So I had this strange, very overconfident thought that I wanted to do everything, sort of megalomania, but and control everything. And I don't know where it came from. That's why I think it's a sort of confidence that you got at the Royal College of Art then, and that was alive and bubbling in London at the time.
But that's, I think, the first thing I would say about anybody starting a business. You've got to have confidence. You've got to have faith in what you're doing. You have a belief in it. Now, you might be wrong, and it'll fail. Fine, that's okay. But if you start doubting, then you start listening to all those siren voices and I wouldn't do it quite like that. And then it becomes sort of mediocre, and you lose that kind of sharpness that a great idea has. It's funny, actually, because I did painting, then I went to do graphic design at London College of Printing. And I had a very similar thing about designers, because I thought, well, where's the idea? And the designers, well, I don't do the idea, and I want to do the idea.
Well, I was really lucky because meeting Jeremy Fryer was very interesting because he was an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
He founded the business. And when we designed the sea truck, and we were about to build it and go out and sell it, I said, I better go and do a bit of research. And he said, what on earth for? We've done something, we like it, we think it's good, just go and make it and sell it.
Yeah.
And there's a huge amount of truth in that, because if it's a revolutionary boat, as that was, and
how's somebody going to comment on it?
Well, yeah. Well, what they all said, it's a Welsh dresser on water, and that's not a boat. So it was a very strange looking boat that did different things. It's like a landing craft. You just go out and sell it. You're a Pied Piper of Hamelin. You lead people forward with your idea.
Yeah. You inspire them too. You inspire people.
Hopefully. It's quite difficult to inspire people, actually, but well, at the beginning. So what I learned from that was that there will be naysayers all around you. And if you do market research, it will tell you it won't work. That's not the type of boat people buy, or that's some type of vacuum cleaner people buy. People want bags and so on. But you just got to ignore all that and do what you think is right and check it out with a few friends.
And I think that, again, that's a brilliant point to make, because we live in a world of data analysis, algorithms, we've got so much information. But I think we forget, and I would use the word, part of your job is there to inspire people. No, I didn't think of it.
Well, and shock them even.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, because don't give them what they want.
Yeah.
Give them something better, something they hadn't imagined.
I worked a lot with a number of car companies for Audi for a very long time, and obviously Audi is owned by Volkswagen. And I always just say to people, the most successful car ever made was the Beetle, but only 10% of people liked it. But those 10% loved it. And that I'll have 10% of the car market any time you wish.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it's a very important point that, you get, analysis, and you get measurement, and you get all of these things, which, I can see why people do it. But in the end, it weighs you down, and it stops the idea and growing and developing and being awesome.
I'll give you a very good example. The clear bin on our vacuum cleaner. Now, no one had ever done that before. And the retailers said, we can't possibly sell that with a clear bin where you can see the dirt. It's disgusting. So we did some market research, and everybody said, it's disgusting. You can't do that. But we engineers loved it. We loved seeing the dirt. So we just decided to completely ignore the market research And now every vacuum cleaner's made
Now it
clear
does.
lin. Yeah.
But also it became it sort of became a bit of your trademark, didn't it? It became the way.
Yes, and we refused a trademark on it.
Yeah.
Quite robbed badly. Actually, we deserved a trademark on that. Yeah.
But I think, again, I go back to my thing of the genius of this, and I am going to use that word, if you'll excuse me of saying it, that I've always, I have to give lots of talks, but I refer to Dyson, I refer to Audi, and I refer to Apple and people. But I think the genius of taking a vacuum cleaner and turning it into a must-have object is, I think you have to stand back from that. Now we see them all over and you see it, but you forget how incredible that was. I mean, I used to say, I never sat around with friends at over drinks and stuff. Vacuum cleaner, do you? But all of a sudden, you turn need into want. And that was through this combination of those three things. Brilliant idea, engineering, and design. But we forget the importance of that, to put desire into the things that we make. And I think that comes from the design. It comes from the way things are made, the way they feel, the way you touch them. And looking at, I'm going to go back to it because I featured it, your pencil vacuum cleaner. I just think I wanted to start doing the vacuum cleaning. I mean, really,
Yeah, I know.
And it is.
And children want to do it as well, which is good. Yeah.
So we all know the story that, you had to go and you went to all kinds of people and Hoover and said this will never work and that. But there was a tremendous, how did you sustain your belief in that this is going? How did you sustain that?
Well, during the 4 or 5 years when I was developing the technology, as opposed to trying to license it, I didn't know it was going to work. I mean, when you do research, you don't know if you're going to succeed. So that's one hurdle that you got. And then there's the, will people buy this, that sort of thing? And that's another hurdle. So there's two bigger hurdles you have to overcome, and then you have to make money out of it. So that's roughly how it goes. How do you keep going? Well, as you're borrowing more and more, you have to make it work. And I was because you're getting so much into debt. So and I was trying to think of a word. When you're doing research and you don't know you're going to make it work, what is it that keeps you going? And it's, I suppose it's partly pride that you don't want to fail, but it's also the killer instinct. I'm going to make this work. I'm going to. And I don't know, there isn't a word for that.
No.
The only word I can come up with is killer instinct.
Yeah, which is in itself
slightly odd.
Yeah.
Slightly odd, but
we're not sure about that.
but it's not pride. I mean, when I say I'm not going to fail at this.
Yeah.
That's not pride.
Belief. Is it belief?
No, because you don't know.
You don't have belief that it will work.
No, I haven't got belief at all.
No.
It doesn't work. Keeps failing. 5,126 times. And,
I'm going to go again. I'm going to go again.
So I don't think it's determination and stamina, but there's something else, and I don't know what it is.
What it is, yeah. I've read the, this is about 5 years, no, maybe even 6 years ago, the book on Elon Musk and his development of his reusable rocket. And again, he had that thing about, and he was down to his last, whatever it was.
Or dying, probably.
To get
amazing.
And in the last attempt, it worked. And that, if he'd stopped before. But you do have to have, there's got to be something there that, because I think sometimes you can see it, in your mind, you may see it. You just, no.
And your belief ought to crumble, because everything you thought, everything you tried doesn't work. I mean, it gets more and more depressing.
So the answer is getting a bit more debt. And then
you have to succeed.
You have to succeed.
Yeah.
If you want to kill your creativity, try to be original. You'll soon find that it's an impossible benchmark. In fact, there's no such thing as original. Great artists pursue freshness instead. Miles Davis understood this, and so apparently does Lexus, the car brand. It partnered with Amazon Ads and Leve, an award-winning Icelandic Chinese musician who has helped reimagine jazz for people who are still too young to wear corduroy.
What does blue and green
Together,
mean to me?
they created 100 Miles, a live Twitch broadcast, where Leve performed to celebrate what would have been Miles Davis' 100th birthday, playing a medley of her own numbers and a reworked version of Blue and Green, available exclusively on Amazon Music. Now that is a fresh idea. Learn more about custom campaigns with Brand Innovation Lab at advertising.amazon.com.
I sometimes worry when people, I mean, it's easy to raise money now to start things.
Yeah.
And I slightly worry about that because, I had to borrow it all. So I had to make it work. Whereas someone who is given money by venture capitalism, whatever they call that, private equity, it's not their money.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Is it? And it goes back to your thing about when you did a design, it was you liked it. That, in a sense, in my mind, that gives me faith. I like it, and therefore, I hope it's going to work.
Well, you can't go around designing things that you think other people might like.
You can't do it.
You can't do that. You can't be true to yourself. You can't do that.
Well, it's that
You've got to make your own mistakes.
I always define creativity, for instance, as an expression of self. Because we're all creative, and it's you expressing yourself, and so therefore you have to believe in it if it's going to work. So,
Don't have to.
well, I did because I had to believe in it because I couldn't.
But you didn't know you'd be successful.
No, never did. But I had to believe in it. But I thought, well, if I'm not successful, then so what?
Yeah.
I suppose if you come to, it's always like an artist. So there you are. You've let's report it because people can read the story, and I think it's fascinating. But it takes off. It begins to work, and then you say to yourself, I'm about taking things, and I'm about making them. How could that be better? So how did you move to your next idea? What did you have a kind of parameter for it?
Oh, it's very easy. I mean, a lot of things don't work properly.
Yeah.
Or they just got good enough.
So I can say shoelaces don't work, but they keep coming undone.
Well, you put Velcro instead.
Yeah.
No, so I mean, that there's a solution. Well, you hope there's a solution to everything, but there's so many things that don't work well, or could be made to work better, or could use fewer materials, or whatever. So now, actually, because of the green movement, there are much more opportunities than were before. Previously, you had to make things faster and bigger and more powerful and all this sort of thing. Well, the obverse has happened now. You want to make things less powerful but equally effective. So, for example, the vacuum cleaners were 2,200 watts. The big German things, all our competitors were doing. And we made this one over here.
Yeah.
That was 200 watts, a tenth of the power.
So you're reducing the power.
Yeah.
Making it work better. And that constant improvement, But I still think
that wouldn't have worked 20 years ago because no one would be interested. They all want the biggest, most powerful one.
That's how they think.
Or did.
Yeah.
But now people think ecologically.
That's kind of interesting.
It's added a whole lot of more opportunities to invent.
That's an interesting point to make too. They're making another interesting point that the environment also creates opportunities. I don't mean the environment in degree, but that the world you're working in, it does create opportunities. We're talking now about green technologies here, making them greener.
Well, then I've got see, this is that's a vacuum. That's state-of-the-art Japanese vacuum cleaner motor. There's only half of it there.
Of course.
And that's one of ours.
Good God. So that versus that. I mean, that's you've got to get, that is brilliant. That's before and that's after. That's phenomenal. And you're getting out of this the power, sufficient power, because of your...
more power.
More power.
Yeah, more efficiently.
Yeah.
That's 2,000 watts, and this is 200.
200.
Yeah. And that's a hairdryer motor, right? That's a hairdryer motor, which is why they're so big.
Yeah.
Right, and that's ours.
And that's yours. And a gag.
And this is
Can we get a picture of that? I'd love that. No, I'm going to move this out of the way and go, that's...
So
conventional hairdryer.
With that. That's, and that's what we did.
And that's the Dyson.
Yeah. Which is why it's in the handle.
Which is why it's in the handle.
Yeah. So this is a sort of boring thing. Electric motors to everybody else are boring. To us, they're very interesting because you can change a product.
Product. What that does now, imagine by miniaturizing it. Now imagine what else I can do.
Yeah.
And that opens up. So I still thought, the air fan that you created was just, it was just like, oh my God, I can put my hand in and it doesn't. That sort of imagination to say, I'm going to look at that sort of, it sort of works okay, but we've done it like this and this is what makes it exceptional.
These ideas come about not sitting around theorizing, being in the workshop, because we were developing for the fan. We were developing another product. I can't tell you what it is because we might still do it. But we observed that a blade of air attracted a whole lot of other air. It pulled it along with it. So we thought, why can't you have just a small amount of air coming out of the fan and create a huge airflow? Multiply it 20 times, literally 20 times. So that's what we did. So you don't need a...
And that came out of the conversation. It came out of somebody observing.
Just watching it.
Just watching it.
So, hey, this is really interesting. It's multiplying its own airflow many times.
I'm going to go back to Leonardo da Vinci here because, of course, that's exactly what he would have done. He had this thing about nature has the answer. And there's a lovely thing in his book.
Biomimicry.
Yeah. I'll take your word for that. But and he works out how the heart pumps. And he did it through watching the way water moved. And I'm reading this piece in the book, and it says it was finally confirmed that he was right in 1962. Wait a minute, he was 50 minutes.
Yeah.
But that observing.
Being curious and observing is the most important. Yes. When we're recruiting people, we always look for that element of curiosity. Why is it like that? Why?
Yeah.
Why?
So you've got to, I love that, the sort of the miniaturized, so that environment creates opportunity because it puts new demands on things, right? Well, how do we engineer our way out of this? How do we innovate out of this? And that has created a smaller...
it was speed, actually.
Speed.
We knew, even I knew that if you could make a motor go much faster, it would become more efficient and smaller and so on. So I didn't make it work. Our wonderful engineers here made it work.
Yeah, of course.
But, that's pretty fast. That goes at 30,000. The hairdryer one goes at 15,000. Ours go at 150,000. So we had to make a motor, these things, that would go at 150,000 RPM. An aircraft engine is 15,000. And Formula One is 19,000.
Right.
But these are speeds no one's ever done.
Never done before.
Never done before. This is total pioneering.
That opens.
And our brilliant engineers did that.
So I'm going to ask all of those. We could spend the rest of the time talking about that. And
Exactly.
Which is brilliant. I'd love that. The other thing, you've kept your company private. One of the big complaints about UK businesses is that lots of businesses, not just UK, that they get to a point of success and then they sell to other people. And you've kept your business private. So you contract. And would you say that's added to your success?
It helps. I think it helps a lot. When I had quite a few offers to buy it in the early days, and all my friends said, sell it, get the money, sell it. And I said, no, I want to go on living on a knife edge. I want to live by my wits. And so, but it does, we when we make decisions, we make them entirely because of what we want to do. We don't feel we have to worry about shareholders and what they might think.
Yeah.
So when we do something like the car, which is a huge risk, we can take that sort of risk. And
which you've got to do.
Yes.
You can't.
Yeah, not everything's going to work. Yeah, if you're a public company, you've got to make everything work,
and then you have to answer the
share. That's a good sort of pressure in many ways.
Yeah,
but it does prevent people from being more adventurous.
Yeah, it is. I think it's interesting because, my own limited experience in running a company, when we were the shareholders, we made the decisions about, well, I'm not going to do that because I don't think that's good for who we are and what we are. Whereas had I had outside shareholders, it would have been, well,
Yeah,
your figures are down. And you go, well, okay, they're down.
But also we can do things that we got a university, which costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
We couldn't do that in a public company.
Of course not.
No. So, and we probably couldn't have done a ventilator, which is that thing that Boris asked me to do in 6 weeks, design and build a new ventilator. We wouldn't be allowed to put all our resources onto that, but we did. So you can do those things as a public.
And the other brilliant thing, of course, you're doing now is with your training engineers, you're training young engineers to kind of, develop those skills. And I think, you'll probably disagree with me on this, because I think one of the problems that the word engineer doesn't sound sexy,
No, it doesn't.
But it should do. It should do.
It should do.
It's funny, is that one of the questions I often get when I'm no longer in advertising, what brand would you like to have worked on? Mm-hmm. And they all think I'm going to say Apple, I don't know, Nike, or whatever. Not in the slightest bit interested. And I say, I want to work on a brand where somebody comes into me and says, I'd like to change the way people feel or think about this. And I always say, if somebody came into me and said, John, we make nuts and bolts, I want people to realize that without these, the world falls apart. That's what I want them. So it's about getting people to understand that the word engineer actually has a great excitement to it. It's a fantastic, you think about it. And it's a shame that it's sort of an engine. You think of a bloke in a sort of slightly brown coat and he's got grease on it. It's twinkling.
If you ask children what an engineer is, there's someone who mends a washing machine.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, we need people who run washing machines, but engineering is creative.
It's creative.
You won't like this, but I always hated the phrase creative industries.
I know. I know what you mean.
Because, creative industries don't make anything. We make things every day. Yeah. Not only to make prototypes, but we make real things. That's industry. That's the definition of industry.
Yeah. But I always go, actually, creativity is everywhere. Yeah. And that's what I'm on the mission to do, is to get businesses to realize the importance of creativity, because creativity is about imagination, and it's about innovation, and it's about all those things that are fundamentally important. And it's about, too, I believe, creating something of real value.
You're absolutely right. But the problem is that creative people are told they can't run companies.
Yes.
So you can't have when I was trying to raise money, which I significantly failed at, they said, we're not giving it to you because you're an engineer. If you're a manufacturer or an accountant, we give it, but not because you're an engineer. Yet, the entire Politburo in China are engineers or scientists. All of them, every single one of them. And they understand the importance of manufacturing and creating products.
And making things.
Making things. Yeah. And we're afraid that in Britain, we've lost that.
But you've pioneered that in a way. You're engineering, designing, creating products that really are exceptional. You're doing it in a UK way, but you manufacture abroad. So I personally don't see a problem with that. I think
the problem is that we can't make here because there are no suppliers here.
Right.
So the whole infrastructure is gone.
Right. And so that's why you had to move.
Yeah, that's right. That's why we had to move, because we had any English suppliers. So we're bringing plastic from Korea. Harvey Jones stopped making plastic under the ICI, because it dipped down 1 year.
Yeah.
He's a lovely man, by the way. But that's the sort of attitude of manufacturing industry. You have a bad year or two, so you shut that.
Yeah. It doesn't take that long-term view. And it's interesting. I had a wonderful lunch with John Lasseter of Pixar, and he made this very simple observation. He said, you can't have a creative business if creative people aren't at the top of it.
Well, exactly.
And I thought that was so simple and profound, because they have now obviously Pixar is a creative, they make, and I thought that was so simple and so profound. And again, here you are at the top of this company, engineer, and I would describe you as creative and an engineer, driving the company. And that's, one could argue, and again, I'm going back to entrepreneurs, what is it you're bringing? Why should you be constantly running this? The danger is you bring in people who understand spreadsheets, who understand process. Now, process isn't fundamentally important, but the danger is it overtakes.
Yeah.
It stops innovation.
Well, you've got to drive it all the time, and have a team around you who drive it. because if you don't, someone else will overtake you.
They will.
Yeah. And you raised an important point about metrics.
Yeah.
I've never been asked that before, and I thought it was a really good question. That our life is about metrics. It's about making products that perform better in every way. So when we develop a product that might be completely different, it might be a pencil. Yeah, okay, it looks different and looks strange and new, but it's got to pick up better. It's got to have stronger suction than anybody else. It mustn't lose suction. All these things still apply. So we've got to win on metrics as well as doing something different and unusual, which someone else wouldn't do.
And I think that's, again, if I might jump on that, it's a very important point, that constant, how can we make it better?
Yeah.
Never, ever be satisfied. You never sit back. And I do love, I loved your ads because they featured you in the early days, didn't you? Using that. And it was great. But the point I always used to say, often my job was to sell parity products, working in advertising. There was not really, it's a point of view of difference, pair of Levi's jeans, it's a 5-pocket Western jean. What's the difference between that and another? And it was the brand, obviously, and I had to create. But I always said, if you look at Dyson, he doesn't have to do that, because what he's done is he's made a superior product. Just, would you please demonstrate it?
Yeah.
And then you've got the answer. Do you regret anything?
Yeah, of course. I regret that I couldn't do the car. Right, it got a long way down. We're about to actually make it, when I stopped it.
So what made you stop?
It's a complicated thing, but when I started in 2014, only Tesla were doing electric cars.
Right.
And the industry said that the electric cars would be 2% of the market by 2030. And I thought that's wrong. And so I developed a car because we make electric motors.
Yeah.
We're developing batteries, and a lot of the car is about the air comfort and all that sort of thing, which we know all about. But then there was Dieselgate, and then everybody got into electric cars, and everybody's losing a load of money on. So at that point, I realized it would be very, very hard for us to make money out of it. And as a private company, I can't afford that sort of risk.
Yeah. But it might come back.
No, no, there's a moment in time, and then after that,
I might disagree with you there, because who knows? Somebody might walk in and go, "Do you know, we could do these as delivery boxes that go. We've got the product for that." Who knows? That opportunity. You said environments change, and that something might happen. That
I very much doubt it.
All right.
Yeah. The car industry is in a bit of a mess anyway. And the washing machine, was another one I really regret.
Yeah.
And I listened to the market. We're already selling it. I listened to the market who said it's too expensive. So we made it a bit cheaper and didn't sell any more at all. In fact, we just lost more money. And I should have done the opposite of what everybody was saying. That was an important lesson to me. Yes, and I really regret that.
Yeah. Well, you'll always get the sales force who will always say to you, cut the price. Because if you cut the price, it's easier for them to sell. Not necessarily it's good for the product.
Yeah.
And so I think it is worth mentioning too, the other genius thing that you did was you were then, and I'm going right back to selling a vacuum cleaner that was much more expensive than all the others. And that, I would argue, takes courage. That really takes courage. And courage.
I didn't have any choice, actually.
Yes. You've given that one away. No, but
interestingly, the first customers were the mail order catalogues.
Yeah.
Littlewoods and Gus. Yeah. Sort of gone by the way now. We don't remember them. But they were actually quite prominent in the market. And I spent a whole day selling to the buyer at Gus. It was a very nice man, but, and he bothered to spend a whole day with me. And at the end of it, he said, "Why should I take out Electrolux or Hoover or Amila, which I know sells in the catalogue, and put in this strange machine with a cyclone with air going at 200 miles an hour that'll frighten everybody? Why should I put that in my catalogue?" And it was actually a really, really interesting question.
Yeah.
So I thought for a second, and I thought the only justification I can give you is that your catalogue's boring. And he looked at me for about 5 minutes, and I thought he was going to kick me out. And he said, "Okay, I'll give it a try."
That's, again, I love that. It's about spark somebody's imagination. Is there one piece of advice you'd like to offer anybody? Is there, if sitting here now, what would you, if I was about to start a business or thinking of it, what would you say to me?
Oh, well, you've got to be different. whatever you do has got to be different. And that's hard because, you know, you don't know whether different will work. But you've got to do that.
Yeah.
And, you know, what, as you have said, once you've done it, you've got to go on developing it.
Yeah.
And please don't sell out.
And don't sell out.
Don't sell out. Keep it.
Keep it going.
Yeah. You're not doing it to make money, I hope. You're doing it because you have a passion for something.
I constantly say, you know, money has a voice, but remember it can't sing. Is my kind of
that's very good.
And I think that's so important. Jim, just one last thing, and I'd love to. Do you have a creative philosophy? Is there a philosophy behind what you do? Is it you know, sort of a lot of artists would say, well, this is my philosophy. I believe in this. This is what I'm trying to do. Do you have one? Do you think about it?
Well, I'm very lucky because there are a lot of wonderful people here who are bubbling with ideas and new ways of doing things. And that's really the philosophy. You've got to keep moving on. You've got to keep changing. You've got to take risks. You've got to come out with new things that people don't trust or don't like. I mean, for example, that stick vacuum cleaner, the one before, the pencil vac, when we did that, no one would buy it because battery vacuum cleaners had a really bad reputation. You remember the dust buster?
Yeah.
Suction and so on. So everybody said, you won't sell those. The retailers wouldn't stock them. But we persevered with it. And now 95% of vacuum cleaners sold are battery vacuum cleaners. Unfortunately, not all by us. But
well, you're always going to have imitators, aren't you?
Unfortunately,
yes. Well, that's probably quite good in a way because it encourages you to be more different.
I went on to Google's AI and started saying, you know, what do you think about people who copy each other commercially? And they said, oh, it's absolutely accepted commercial practice. So I said, well, wait a minute. At school, if you copy someone, you get expelled. So it's immoral to copy, isn't it? And the answer came back, yes, I suppose you're right.
So
I don't know whether I've changed AI's opinion.
I think you may well have.
But I end up having arguments with them. I don't trust AI at all. Actually.
No. I mean, you know, I kind of use it, but there's a convenience to it, but I can see where it's going wrong and I correct it.
I think you have to know the answer before you ask it.
Well,
And if it agrees with you, that's okay. If it doesn't, then ignore it.
I call it like a good assistant. You know, it does things for you.
Well, but I wouldn't trust it.
But then you correct it.
Yeah. I mean, I always thought that about calculators, you know, when they came in.
Yeah.
They're dangerous because they give an answer, but it might be a completely wrong answer. So you've got to know roughly what the right answer is before you
go in. So that's another piece of advice.
Yeah.
James,
never trust experts.
Yeah.
Well, of course, during COVID, that's what they did. They trusted the scientists and this Ferguson with his flawed system. So always ignore experts or challenge them.
Yeah. Well, I think again you go back to them. Believe in yourself and believe in what you're doing and that you can do it better. Because without that, what is it? There is nothing.
But challenge. I mean, be curious and challenge. Yeah. I just talked to a group of our undergraduates who just arrived. And that's one of the things I said to them, you know, challenge everybody. Don't be afraid. Maybe an engineer with 40 years experience, but don't be afraid to challenge them.
And
they need challenging. Yeah.
Sometimes the stupid question is it's a really good one.
Exactly.
That's fantastic.
Oh, it's great for talking to you, John.
Just coming along.
Do you have another strawberry?
And I think I'm going to have another strawberry.
I think I'm going to have a big juicy strawberry.
From the Dyson farm.
The Dyson farm, exactly.
That, you see.
It's the only bit of it that makes money.
If you want to explore how creativity can work for you, head over to thebusinessofcreativity.com. See you next time.